Hello everyone, and welcome once again to the Temple Institute Parsha class. My name is Gedalia Meyer, and I'm podcasting from Ma'ale Adumim in Israel. Actions have consequences. We do something, and we may want to believe that it really doesn't matter at all. We convince ourselves that it will just get buried in the massive amount of other things that happen, and in the end, nothing will come of any of it. This is an extremely easy argument to make. It frequently seems to be 100% correct. Many of the things we do don't really seem to make all that much of a difference in our lives and do just get swallowed up in the storm. But there's no denying that this doesn't work that way for everything. Sometimes it happens that something we do, either intentionally or haphazardly, really has a major impact on everything. It could literally change the course of our lives. Certainly with particularly dramatic things like a major crime or getting married or even saying the right or wrong thing to the right or wrong person, our lives can be irrevocably altered. It may not be all that clear why certain things have this dramatic impact and others don't, but that still doesn't change the facts. It would be nice to know in advance when we are about to do something of particular significance. If only there was some sort of warning signal that goes up somehow that alerts us to the importance of the moment and tells us to make this move count because it sure is going to count. But unfortunately, as far as we know, there is no such warning system. We are forced to go about our lives blindly, knowing that some things won't have any significant consequences at all, and others will be huge game changers. It is a bit strange that this is the way things are. Who, after all, is making the decisions as to which things are destined to be forgotten and which will be the impact drivers? It certainly doesn't appear to be other people who are somehow conspiring to force us to go through that selection process. They are leading their lives, and almost all of what they do has little or nothing to do with us. Is it God who is calling these shots? If that is the case, why doesn't God also give us that warning shot that a particular choice or action will really count in our future? Maybe it is somehow us who is the secret guiding force in all that. Perhaps even subconsciously, we choose which of those things that we do will really matter and which won't. The only problem with this is it frequently works out to be the opposite of what we really hoped for. We'll leave that a mystery for now. Let's just all agree that there are those crucial things that do indeed have consequences, even if we might not know it at the time. That alone is a huge deal. We can literally change the course of our lives with just a flick of the mind. Not only is that quite empowering, it is also a bit scary. In some way, we play the part of fate over the rest of our lives. The stakes can be pretty high here. This week's Parsha is called Divari. That word means words. It's the second word in the first sentence of the fifth book of the Torah. This is the book of Deuteronomy. It differs from the other four in being really one long speech from Moshe to the Israelites. The opening words of this text state this quite explicitly. These are the words that Moshe spoke to the Israelites on the east bank of the Jordan. It is only very rarely in the course of this entire book that the text veers off the speech format and goes into straight narrative. Almost all of it is nothing other than a long speech. The first part of this speech is this week's Parsha, called by the same name as the entire book. It happens that the single subject of this Parsha is recounting the journeys of the Israelites from the time they left Mount Sinai until they arrived at where they currently were, which was the plains of the biblical land of Moab. The recounting begins with the command to leave the mountain and head towards the southern part of what is now Israel. It then describes some of the events that took place along that leg until they arrived at a place called Kadesh Barnea. This, it turns out, is where the famous incident with the spies took place. The story of the spies is recounted in much shorter form than in the previous book, but the disastrous consequences of it are told with stark certainty. God is absolutely clear in telling them, quote, "No man from that evil generation will see the good land that I promised to give to their ancestors. Only Caleb, the son of Yefuneh, will see it, and to him and his descendants I will give the land that he treaded upon, because he followed after God wholeheartedly." One verse later, it adds that Joshua will also come into the land, since he will be the leader of the nation. It then adds one final result of the spy story. Quote, "Your little ones whom you said would be taken captive, and your children who do not know today good or evil, they will come there, and to them I will give it, and they will occupy it." Following this is another mini rebellion protesting this decree, but it all came to nothing. Whatever they tried to do to fight the decree was ignored. Their actions had consequences. From there, the Parsha states that they remained at Kadesh Barnea for many days. It turns out that this was nothing less than about 38 years. The rest of the Parsha picks up from there to describe the final journeys up the eastern spine of the Holy Land. This included various battles that were fought with nations of that area that resulted in much additional land becoming part of the overall area of the Israelites. 2.5 tribes elected to settle on the eastern side of the Jordan, thus sealing their fate as never actually settling in the original promised land. Actions, again, have consequences. But right in the middle of that decree, there is a verse that doesn't appear to fit at all. It is not particularly long or dramatic, and the problem with it is easily missed. Moshe states clearly, quote, "God also displayed anger to me because of you and said, you too will not enter the land." This was indeed the fate of Moshe, as mentioned a couple of times in the previous book and stated clearly at the end of this book. The problem is why it is mentioned right here. This entire section deals exclusively with the story of the spies. Both immediately before and after this verse, it is all about the spies. The decree that Moshe would not enter the land was a result of a seemingly unrelated incident that took place about 38 years later than the spies. This was the so-called rebellion at the waters of Riva. This was one of the classic situations where there wasn't enough water, and Moshe was told to speak to a rock to somehow cause it to give forth water. Instead of speaking to it, he hit it twice and the water emerged. Immediately after this, God told Moshe that because he didn't do things exactly as commanded, he would not be allowed to enter the land. This decree is told in various ways in different sections of the final 2 books of the Torah, but the basic idea is the same. Moshe would not be allowed to enter because of how he handled this incident with the water. So what is it doing here? It certainly seems from the text here that Moshe's fate was sealed along with that of the rest of the Israelite adult males as a direct result of the incident with the spies. There is nothing in the text here to suggest otherwise, but we know that this was not the case at all. Moshe didn't join in with the rebellion of the spies. He did try to mitigate the consequences of the rebellion, but he in no way supported it. On top of that, in the main narrative of the spies story, there is not the slightest indication that Moshe was in any way implicated in the punishment. It is absolutely clear from other parts of the Torah that his fate was directed by his actions at those waters of Meribah. This is a glaring problem with the text. Many commentators have tried to resolve it in various ways. Somehow things have to work out so that the decree upon Moshe was due to his actions with that water thing in the 40th year, even though the text here seems to say that it was related in some way to the rebellion of the spies. What is the connection between these two incidents that were separated by a large distance of land and about 38 years of time? Perhaps we can suggest some connection, even if it is not as direct as we might like. The Spies Incident happened. Once it did, there was no reversing things. The decree of never entering the land was made, and there was no getting around it. The entire generation was fated to live out their lives in the wilderness and never enter the promised land. Their children would, but they wouldn't. Moshe also, at that point, had not received any decree about entering the land. It seemed at that time, and up to the incident with the water, that he was fated to enter. But then he hit that rock instead of speaking to it. That sealed his fate. Would that business with the rock and the water ever have happened if the Spies Incident had never happened? The truth is that we don't know. It certainly could have happened. There's nothing that connects it in any way to the spies, with the possible exception of this very verse we are examining. But there is this verse. Perhaps this verse is suggesting that, through the curious and hidden workings of the world, this water thing happened because of the incident with the spies. This does not mean that there is necessarily any direct connection between the two events. It simply means that without the spies, this would never have happened. There would have been a different fate for everyone involved, both the Israelites and Moshe. The Israelites would have relatively quickly entered the promised land, as was the original plan, and Moshe would have never been forced to face the trauma with the water and misinterpreted things. He would also have entered the land. But that was not the way things happened. The Spies Incident took place with all its consequences, one of which was to be forced to go on those long journeys to the east of the land and to come upon the exact place where there was no water to be found. The rest is history. This is sometimes the way things are or have to be. We don't intend things to be this way, but that is the way they are nevertheless. It never would have happened if we didn't do such and such, but we did, and the consequences have to play out the way they did. In a sense, Moshe's fate was sealed as a result of the spies. He could only see this after the fact, but it could all be traced back to that. So it is with us. There may be other factors at play in deciding what happens in our lives, but a major factor in it all is what has happened to us in the past. Whether it was us who rolled those dice or somebody else, actions do have consequences. Shabbat Shalom.